Is there anyone from the public that would like to address this issue? Ms.
We do
Richards?
not have anyone with their hands raised.
All right, thank you kindly, appreciate that. Hearing no opposition or anyone that wants to speak to this, we'll close the public hearing, and this will be extended to the November 16th meeting. Mr. Soberg, is that correct? Is that what you'd like to do?
Yes, thank you.
Commissioners, I'd like to have a motion of you approving that, please.
I'll make the motion to move to continue the public hearing on November 16th.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Jurdevig seconds. Been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Sober. Item number 3 on the regular agenda is the second reading of the Sump Pump Ordinance 1160, Option A. Public Works Director, Matt Anvik, please.
Thank you, Commission President and Commissioners. If you remember back on October 5th, I brought to the Commissioners 4 different options for streamlining the Sump Pump Ordinance 1160. Option A was selected on that, and it was amended slightly by the Commission. We sent that to the attorney for formal draft, and that's what I'm bringing before you tonight for a second reading. Just to kind of hit the high points of it is, after everybody kind of set, once somebody signs up for the sump pump program, they'll be automatically added onto the program and not have to re-up every year. All new houses built after this adoption of the ordinance would automatically enroll into the program unless the homeowner or the builder signs a waiver saying that there's no longer no connection was made to this city sewer. And what the one change that was amended was there would be $100 fine for the first offense if somebody was caught violating this, and then it would be a $500 fine for the second time anybody was caught violating this ordinance. And this program would go from October 15th to April 15th every year over the winter months when they would be able to dump into the sanitary sewer. With that, I'll open up for any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Mr. Anvik. Any questions from Mr. Anvik?
Just one, Mayor.
Please, Commissioner Olson.
More of just a clarification. We've had some confusion out there of the residents. They think that this is going to hit everybody. So this is still a voluntary program that everybody must volunteer to sign up. It's not an all, or it's not everybody included at once and have to opt out. They have to enroll before you can opt out, correct?
Correct. They would have to. This is still on your honor or a volunteer basis. They have to go in and sign up, and then once they do sign up, then they're on the program. If you don't sign up, then you're not on the program.
So how would a resident sign up? Do they have to go into City Hall and do this, or can they do this by completing a form online and then submitting it?
We do have a form online, or they could go into City Hall when we open back up again after COVID. But currently, they can do it online and get it through the website.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Anvik, if I could.
Yep.
For those folks that are on this system now, what level of communication will they be receiving?
Our plan is to reach out to those people that have already signed up this fall and just make sure that they're comfortable with us putting them on the program and where they don't have to sign up again. As for the fact that when they signed up, this wasn't in place, and we don't want to go against anything that they want. We want to make sure they're okay with us putting them on this program, how we have this written.
Do you have any idea of what that number is that are, how many of them there are?
Currently, I don't know. I think it's somewhere around 600, I believe.
Very good. Thank you.
Can I also add just a quick clarification on there? With new homes that are just being built, would they be automatically enrolled though, the new houses?
The new houses would be, but what we try and do is when the builder basically submits their paperwork, hopefully they would just get to the point where they submit it and say, no, we don't have a connection, or we do have a connection at that time.
But this is an automatic with the building inspections will address this issue each time a building permit will be issued?
Yes,
going
that's
forward?
that's what we're planning on doing, correct.
Okay. Any additional questions for Mr. Anvik? Again, we're giving consideration to the second reading of the sump pump ordinance 1160.
I'll make the motion to approve the second reading.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner George seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the second reading of the sump pump ordinance 1160, option A, as presented by Mr. Anvik. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 4 on the regular agenda is to extend the moratorium resolution on alcoholic beverages. I presented this to ask Mr. Shockley, our city attorney, to consider doing this as we continue moving forward with the issues of the COVID and the stress that it's putting on our business community. So with that, Mr. Shockley.
Thank you, Mr. Commission President and members of the West Fargo City Commission. Tonight, you have before you a resolution to extend the moratorium for the deliveries to January 5th of 2021. That lands one day after the first commission meeting in January. So if we're still in a circumstance in which you choose to extend it, you could do it again on January 4th. And so it's essentially the same resolution as before. It's just extending it through January 5th of 2021. Can certainly answer any questions you might have, but.
Thank you, Mr. Shockley. Are there any questions of Mr. Shockley?
I have one question. It's my night to ask questions, so.
Yeah.
I was asked this weekend if this authorizes bars and restaurants to allow a lot like a mixed drink, like a whiskey Coke, a rum and Coke, to go out with it, because this resolution states it must be a sealed can or bottle. So I'm just curious if that disallows like a mixed drink to go out the door.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Mr. Shockley.
It would not allow a mixed drink to go out the door. Somebody could certainly put together a kit and then the customer could mix it at home.
Okay. Thanks for that clarification.
Since we have a new chief of police in Mr. Otterness, this is the first time you've seen the moratorium. Are there any concerns by West Fargo Police Department, Chief Otterness?
President Dardis and commissioners, thanks. No, not as the ordinance currently or the resolution currently stands. That would have been a concern, Commissioner Olson, if we had, in essence, an open container of a mixed drink. That would have been in direct conflict with state statute. But the way it is and the way it's written right now with sealed containers, there's no concerns from the police department.
Thank you, Chief. Anybody else have any questions of Mr. Shockley? Or of myself for the intent of doing this? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Shockley. Commissioners, your pleasure.
I would make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Jurdovic. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner George seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the extended moratorium resolution of the alcoholic beverages for the businesses in West Fargo till January 4th of 2021. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 5 is the amendment of the Renaissance Zone Development Plan. Lauren Orchard or Mrs. Fisk?
Thank you, President Curtis. With Lauren's absence, I told her that I would take this agenda item and I would provide you with an explanation, as I'm the one who started this whole situation anyway. I had, in discussions with you and discussions during the commission meeting, I had stated that our plan allowed us to give a reduced amount of benefit to a Renaissance Zone project. I had not read our development plan. I was just going by what I knew from Century Code on Renaissance Zones, and I did not pull up our development code. So I apologize for misleading you. What our development code said is, as you can see in the item that Lauren provided, it tells you based on the percentage of improvement to the property, the percentage of exemption. So the exemption that you have right now on the table, or that's been approved for 9th and Main, was 50% for 5 years, but it does not fit into the category of the percentage of improvement based on percentage of exemption in our development plan. So Lauren, in working with the state, they told her that the commission could choose to amend this document and to allow for approval of a 50% 5-year tax abatement based on other factors within the project itself. So it's up for consideration for you. And again, I apologize for the misunderstanding. If you approve this, Lauren will complete the Renaissance Zone application approval for the applicant. If you choose not to make the change, then we would have to bring back the vote for you to see if you want to do 100% for 5 years.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisk. Questions from Mrs. Fisk?
Yes, I have one. Tina, what's the development plan? What is that exactly?
The development plan is something that's required to be submitted when you create a Renaissance Zone, and has to be updated every time you update your Renaissance Zone. And it's the guidelines basically that have to be followed by the city when utilizing this particular incentive. And it's set by the community.
Okay, I guess I wasn't aware of that. I don't think you owe an apology for anything though, because in the state, when it says any municipality, you know, that's our discretion, whether or not we give a full or partial grant.
Yeah.
So I guess I sure don't think you owe an apology to anybody, Tina, for that matter. But so you're saying this development plan overrides the state mandates?
No, the state requirements for Renaissance Zones require that you create a development plan, and that in that development plan, you explain how you plan on doing your exemptions. What your values are, what do they have to hit to get this type of increment? What do they have to hit to get this? And the one that the city commission has says if you increase the value 100% from what it was before, you get 100% exemption for 5 years. Anything from 75 to 99 is 75%, 50% to 74%, you get a 50% exemption for 5 years. Anything below a 50% increase, you get a 0 exemption. So you have a property within the Renaissance Zone, these are the guidelines that we have to go by for their application. So with that being said, what happens is different communities create different development plans based on their community needs. And the Century Code allows for certain things, but it requires you put it into your development plan, how you plan on administering it, so that the state has a guideline for what it is you're going to do.
Okay.
The development plan is a document that we forward to the North Dakota Department of Commerce, who administers how cities operate with their Renaissance Zone. So it's an operations plan, a development plan of how West Fargo operates. So, probably the easiest thing for us this evening would be to give consideration for amending our development plan.
Yes, and Mayor, I did read all the emails and the development plan from Lauren. So, and it says in there, I guess the state, they would agree as if we did this. So I will, if there's no questions, other ones, I'll make the motion to amend that.
amend the West Fargo Development Plan. Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Second.
Commissioner Jurdovic seconds. Been moved and seconded to amend the West Fargo Development Plan with the language as outlined by Mrs. Fisk this evening, that we can have a 50% benefit. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisk. Item number 6 is regarding the North Dakota DOT to award a bid for project 2258, North Dakota DOT PCN 22601. Mr. Scott.
Excuse me, President Dardis, before Mr. Scott starts, I want to make sure that all 5 of you commissioners received the 2 letters or the 2 emails that I got. It was a letter from the West Fargo Park District in support and a letter from the school district in support, or an email that went to Bernie. I forwarded it to you they gave their reasoning why they felt it was important. So I just wanted to clarify that before Dustin starts. Sorry, Dustin.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisk. I did forward it to all commissioners. Both letters also. Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Commissioner President Dardis, members of the commission. Just a quick touch on what Tina mentioned. That's actually for the next item for project number 6055. So we'll revisit that after this item.
All right, very good. 2258, please.
Well, thank you again. So 2258 here, as you can see in your packet, is a project initiated and administered by the North Dakota Department of Transportation. It's for maintenance and repairs at the 9th Street and Veterans Boulevard interchange. It includes several locations throughout the FM area. West Fargo's location is specifically at that Veterans interchange. The project is basically going to include concrete repairs, deck sealing, and foam jacking to improve the ride quality and extend the service life of that bridge. Based on our agreement, we have a cost participation and maintenance agreement with the DOT for this particular interchange. Based on that agreement, the city has a local share contribution associated with these improvements. And as you can see here, staff recommendation is to concur with the Department of Transportation to award a bid for this work to PCI Road LLC in the amount of $1,835,656.28, where the city share would be $93,447.96. With that, I will open up for any questions.
Commissioners, any questions of Mr. Scott? Any questions for Mr. Scott with regarding to the North Dakota DOT Project 2258, 9th and the bridge deck on veterans? Again, our share is 19% of the total cost. What's your pleasure, commissioners?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Jurdovic seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve and concur with the North Dakota DOT to award the bid for project 2258. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, commissioners. Item number 7 is to concur with the North Dakota DOT to award a bid for project number 6055. Mr. Scott.
Thank you again, Commissioner President Dardis and members of the commission. Back to Administrator Fisk's comment, we did today receive letters of support for this project. I did see a letter from Barb Erbstasser from the Park District. I'm not sure if there was one sent also from the school district, but I know both agencies are supporting this particular project and wanted the commission to know that. I'm not sure if those letters were circulated. I just received it maybe an hour and a half ago. So that was what Tina was referring to. So again, this particular project has been before the commission a few times here over the past several months. We are at this point, I'm going to probably just go through the agenda summary here, and feel free to stop and pause, ask any questions. Shortly after completing the enclosure of Lane 45, the city began planning a new multi-use path through the newly created green space. With limited pathways through the city's core area, north of 13th Avenue, this project will enhance the pedestrian network by providing connectivity from Main Avenue to 13th Avenue. Efforts began in 2014 as the city applied for grant funding through the North Dakota Department of Transportation, their Transportation Alternatives Program. Due to the program funding caps, the city separated the project into 2 phases in hopes of maximizing potential grants. The city continued to submit applications every year for each phase, as well as a few other multi-use path projects. In 2019, the city received a $232,000 grant for phase 1, which extends from 7th Avenue to 13th Avenue. The DOT has also recently awarded a grant for phase 2 that the city accepted back in July, which extends from 7th Avenue to Main Avenue. The DOT conducted a virtual bid opening on October 16th, and the low bidder was Tyzac Concrete LLC. Attached to your packets is the notice of bids. At this point, staff recommendation is to concur with the DOT to award bid to Tyzac Concrete for $577,067.20, where the city share would be $345,067.20. And that's referring to the construction costs. Just to briefly highlight the rest of the information in your agenda summary, this project was included in the capital improvement plan that was adopted back in June of 2020. The engineers estimate at the time of bidding was $528,429. And the process timeline is also outlined in this summary for those that are curious as to what the prior commission actions have been. So with that, I'm going to pause and open up for any questions.
Questions for Mr. Scott?
I just have a quick comment. I had a couple of people reach out to me directly on this one. Tabitha Joyce was one of them. She's the principal at Eastwood Elementary, and this project has her support as well as the entire staff of Eastwood. They're really hoping this moves through and feels this is a very necessary project and is excited about this moving forward, as well as Levi Bachmeyer, who I hope I get his title right, West Fargo business manager, or West Fargo Schools business manager here. So he also expressed great support of this project.
Thank you, Miss George. I have a question for Mrs. Fisk or Mr. Scott. Of the city's share, where will the financials come to finance this project? Special assessments are not a part of this project, is that correct?
That is correct, President Dardis and commissioners. In the CIP and all along, it was the funding for our portion was planned out of infrastructure sales tax. And so we will utilize the sales tax we've collected in that portion, some of it, to fund this project to support the community.
So the local residents will not be assessed anything for this improvement?
Nothing at all. Nope.
I wanted to make that clear to the public as we're discussing this evening.
Thank you, President Dardis.
Commissioners, any additional questions, Mrs. Fisk or Mr. Scott?
I have one, Mayor.
Commissioner Simmons.
How much do we have in our capital improvements fund?
I did not check that today. If Mr. Larson is on this call, he should be able to answer that. We have a significant amount of funds saved up because we've been saving those funds to do a cost share for future rehab projects. But I can't specifically tell you exactly how much. It's got a very good balance. I know that we bring in about $1 million just under every month. Our sales tax hasn't been affected that much by COVID. So we put quite a bit of money in that fund because 3/4 of the allocation goes into infrastructure and only 1/4 goes to economic development. So we do gather a significant amount of funds to utilize for projects for the city.
I'm just wondering how much we have and how much we have allocated out of them funds.
We don't have very much allocated out. The only thing we utilize, the only way that we allocate is through the CIP, which in turn gets approved by the city commission. I can look and tell you, but I would think that it's in excess of $20 million that we have saved in that fund right now.
That is correct. Give me a few minutes and I will have an actual number here as well.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay, and Jim, if you could tell me also how much is in the reserve fund.
Okay.
I guess the reason I bring this up is the same reasons I did before. You know, if I have a choice between a street and a sidewalk or a walkway, I'm going to go for the street every time. And that area needs so many improvements down there. I just think this money should go towards the streets first. And then when we have the luxury of doing a pathway, we do it.
I wouldn't mind speaking towards that quickly for you, Commissioner Simmons. When we did the capital improvement plan, we allocated to make sure the street projects were funded first and that this would be secondary. And at the time we did the CIP, it did have adequate funding to be able to make sure we pursued the streets and this project as well.
So we have enough money in the funds, are you telling me, Jim, to do the downtown infrastructure?
This is a constant moving target. The downtown infrastructure, as far as the core project, yes. The Cheyenne project, we're still bringing some final numbers to the table on that. But based on the preliminary estimates, we did have funding available for that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Good questions. Any additional questions of Mr. Larson, Mrs. Fisk?
I just want to make a comment, Mayor,
Please, Commissioner Olson.
that, you know, we received a grant of over $230,000. I don't think if we pass on that, the likelihood of us getting that much assistance from the state, we won't get it again. That would be my fear. So it's not quite half or close to half, but I think we can't pass that up either.
If I could just add on to your comment, Commissioner Olson, you know, we're talking about a portion of West Fargo that I don't, you know, between Cheyenne and 9th Street and 13th and Main, I don't think there is a bike path. And, you know, I can go to almost any other part of West Fargo and find, you know, significant investments that have been made, you know, in paths that, you know, to connect our community. I think this is a good project, and I think it brings a bike path that to some people is as important as roads, because some people don't drive, to a part of town that really needs one.
Since our discussions have started on this, I've changed my mind on the bike path. The fact that the bike path leads us to one of our city parks, to one of our city elementary schools, there's an added benefit to there other than, you know, as Commissioner Jurdovic and Commissioner Olson are saying, an amenity for the public. But it focuses on directly a transportation route to one of our city parks and one of our elementary schools, you know. And the other thing is that we have made significant improvements for this type of transportation amenity on the south side. And I think I agree that this is a good project for the north side. So, is there any other discussion, questions of Mr. Larson or questions of Mrs. Fisk with regard to the bid project for 6055, the bike path over Drain 45 from 7th to 13th and from 7th to Main Avenue? Your pleasure, Commissioners.
I'll make the motion to concur with the DOT to award the bid.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Jurdevig seconds. Been moved and seconded to concur with the North Dakota DOT to award the bid for project 6055. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried on a 4-1 vote. Thank you. Item number 8 is the authorize the engineer report for project number 6057. Mr. Scott.
Thank you once again, Commissioner President Darvis, members of the commission. This time I'm gonna skip a lot of that.
Did we lose Dustin?
I think we did.
Have we lost all audio or just Mr. Scott?
I think we've lost just Mr. Scott. So if we wanted to,
We'll move on to the city administrator's report. Mrs. Fisk.
Okay, while we wait for him to come back. I don't have a whole lot of things to report. I wanted to let you know that all of our new supervisors from last year to this year all went through supervisor training the last couple of weeks at Dale Carnegie. It was very exciting to watch. Jenna, the HR director, and myself sat in on them just to see how it went. And I was very impressed with the leadership that was there and what a great job they all did. It was very, very fun to watch. Very proud. With that in mind, we also, just a reminder, we have our COVID protocols right now for the orange color that we're in. We are not allowing in-person meetings within City Hall. Staff is in their offices with their doors shut. If they're there, they wear masks if they go out and about. And people can come in and make payments, pay the police tickets, court fees, water bills, but otherwise it's by appointment only. So if there has to be an in-person meeting, generally as staff, then we take it off-site so that we don't have to make anybody else uncomfortable. So working on that, and communications has been doing an excellent job with all the different things that they've been working on as well to help us out. So yeah, with that said, those are about the only main things I had, but I also wanted to request that Carissa, our library director, she had a couple of things she wanted to talk to you guys about. And so Carissa, if you're ready, you could hop on here.
Hi, everybody. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Good evening, Commission President Dardis and Commissioners. It's really good to see all of you tonight. I just wanted to give a quick update on the library's project to obtain public input that will inform the development of our new strategic plan. So if you remember back in March before the shutdown, we hired Folkways, a consultant, to help us gather community input and learn about residents' needs and interests. And so after the shutdown, we started work with Folkways again in August. And they just wrapped a major milestone in the project, which was conducting interviews with a representative group of current library users. And the next phase of the project is going to be obtaining input from folks who are either not library users or folks who represent a group of users that are underserved by the library. And one group that falls into that non-user category for us are newcomers to West Fargo. So when we looked at the data on our current cardholders, we discovered that most of our cardholders have lived in West Fargo for anywhere between 5 and 20 years, and we don't currently have as much reach to those who have lived here for less time or who are newer to West Fargo. And newcomers do represent a substantial group of people within the city, so we want to learn from their perspective as newcomers as we look at developing library services in the coming years. So I wanted to make you aware and ask for your help in promoting a virtual event that we have coming up that is aimed at new West Fargo residents. So we are inviting new West Fargo residents to join us on Sunday, November 15th from 1 to 2 p.m. via Zoom to learn about different city services and programs available to them as residents. And then at the event, we'll have a number of representatives from the city and the library and the park district, and there'll be a moderated Q&A where folks can ask questions and chat in real time with the representatives present. And then this event will also offer an opportunity for new residents to volunteer to provide feedback on the future of the library. So those who are willing to do a brief interview with Folkways are going to be eligible to win prizes from a number of local businesses. So again, please spread the word to new residents. The date is Sunday, November 15th from 1 to 2 p.m. via Zoom. And to register for the event or just learn more information, folks can visit our website at westfargolibrary.org. So thanks, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions for Mrs. Hanson? All right, thank you. Justin, we lost you for a while. Are you back on, Mr. Scott?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Commissioner President Dartis, members of the commission. Sorry about my technical difficulties. I was informed, though, that you had briefly heard me say that the most of this information is similar to phase one. I'm going to skip over that summary. Basically going to get right to the end and say that we've been on hold with this particular phase until we had clear direction on phase one. And now that we are moving forward with the construction of phase one, we would like to get started putting together the engineer's report for phase two. Phase two now will extend from 7th Avenue up to Main Avenue, completing the entire bike path project that's been planned on over Drain 45. As you see down at the bottom there, the financial analysis, we did have a $600,000 project identified in the capital improvement plan that was adopted back in June. But again, the efforts of the engineer's report will be to put together a rough estimated cost of construction. So at this point, staff recommendation is now to move forward with preparing the engineer's report for phase two. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Questions for Mr. Scott regarding project 6057, phase two.
I'll make the motion to authorize the engineer to prepare the report.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner Jurdevig. It's been moved and seconded to authorize the engineer for an engineer's report on project 6057. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries on a 4-1 vote. Thank you. Mr. Scott, construction report, please.
Thanks again, Commissioner President Dartis, members of the commission. We do have a few active projects yet. The weather still nice enough to get some of the underground work done on some of the development projects we have out there. We also are nearing completion on the stormwater outfall project up by the diversion on the north side of town. The contractor working on that sanitary sewer collection project number 1316, is starting this week. So we do have some activity out there, but nothing that will disrupt the general public, except for we have Excel Energy in town on 9th Street, doing some exploration type work where they're digging down to confirm location of underground utilities. And we found out today that they are hoping to close the southbound lane of 9th Street between 7th Avenue Northeast and Main Avenue starting next week. We're going to work with communications department to get notice out to the public, as well as we're requiring Excel to put in a message board at the detour locations as soon as possible, so that we give the traveling public sufficient time to understand that there'll be a detour. The detour is anticipated to last just one day. So we're hoping that they would wait until after rush hour in the morning, start their work, and then finish by the end of the day. So with that, answer any questions.
Mr. Scott, when we had a meeting with Excel Energy with regard to the natural gas that they were going to bring into the city, there was a discussion about a different route. Have they responded to us in that with regard to that?
They did. I reached out to them last week asking for an update where they're at. They are putting together a formal response. They did not allude either way on the outcome of that, if they are able to consider a different route. Regardless, they are still wanting to pursue the exploration work before the weather turns much colder. And if they decide to change routes, the work that they're doing right now would be, of course, for all for naught, but they are hoping to get us a report back this week. And they also will be preparing a presentation for the city commission sometime in the near future, so that the city commission, as well as our residents and businesses, can understand the project that they are planning for next year.
All right, thank you. Does that conclude your report?
Yes, it does, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Any questions of Mr. Scott on the construction report?
I have one question.
Commissioner Olson?
On 52nd Avenue, just east of the Cheyenne River, there's been construction on both sides of the avenue, north and south side. Is that something that we're doing, or is that something Fargo's doing?
All Fargo.
All Fargo?
Well, Commissioner Olson, I believe that would be the city of Fargo. However, there might be a portion on the north side. If it's some regrading that's being done for one of our residents, it might be something that we're getting done to help just reestablish the turf and deal with some of the drainage issues out there. But might have to confirm it. It was the city of Fargo's project out in that area.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm not sure if that's.
They're putting in all new basins and the like.
Okay.
It's an extension from where they stopped last summer going to the bridge. But they were digging in basins today, catch basins.
Yep, and I am familiar with a water main project that they have planned. I'm not sure if that's also started this fall. I'd have to check into that, but they are planning to put in a water main basically from that signalized intersection there. It's our 4th Street. I can't recall which street it is for them, but that water main is going to extend west of Cheyenne Street to make a connection into our water main. So that could be coming. That could have started. It might be something that they're doing next spring.
It is a part of that. It's part of the same project, Mr. Scott.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any additional questions of Mr. Scott? Mrs. Fisk, are there any correspondence to share with the commissioners?
The only correspondence I received are the 2 that I forwarded to you, the one from the Park District and the one from the school in relation to the agenda item that's already been taken care of. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Does any commissioner have any non-agenda item that you'd like to discuss at this time?
I guess I just have a question for our administrator.
Please, Mr.
And our librarian brought it, kind of prompted it. Where are we at with the cultural diversity task force meetings, all that kinds of stuff? Where are we sitting with that?
Very good question. Thank you, Commissioner Olson. I will start and then I'll let Melissa hop in because she is the lead on the project. The department heads have all met and done what was called the IDI, which is a series of questions you answer. And then each individual was supposed to have a one-on-one with someone from the organization that we're working with to discuss what came out of the IDI and what the next steps are. But rather than me get into details and get it wrong, I would request that Melissa hop on and give us clearer details and where we go next.
Thank you, Tina. So in terms of, there were kind of two portions that I had brought forward that were approved. One was the internal City of West Fargo employee work. And with your assistance, we determined moving forward with a pilot program of department heads and a few other staff who have a lot of community interaction to go through the IDI assessment. So as Tina said, those have been completed. We all have met with Leticia to talk through our results and to build a plan for our development based on our results. And we will be all meeting with her again at the end of December to talk through progress and further development. In terms of the community action group, Leticia and I are working on pulling together the first meeting of the core group to talk about vision and goals. We want to make sure that it's a very big conversation, so we're working on what the structure of that meeting looks like and who's there to make sure that we have a clearly defined vision for going out to the rest of the community. It's taking a little bit more time than we were expecting, so I don't have much more updates than that, but we did just touch base on Friday and work through a really good plan to get that moving.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Richard.
I have one comment, Mayor.
Please. Commissioner Stitt.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, you did a fantastic job on the Pledge of Allegiance, and I would urge you to continue doing that during these Zoom meetings. It's just so much more respectful, quite honestly. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons.
Then I would make a motion to adjourn.
I think you were all waiting for me to gap out on that, is what you were doing.
You did very well.
It could happen. It could happen. Is there any other non-agenda items from any of our? Anybody? I just heard some feedback. I don't know if somebody fell off a chair or what, but nothing? Commissioner Simmons, can you help me?
I can. I'd make a motion to adjourn, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Olson.
I second that motion.
Been moved and seconded that we stand adjourned. Thank you and have a wonderful evening. Stay safe.